As Jesus traveled, a vast crowd of thousands followed him to a soft, green mountainside near the Sea of Galilee. The sun was high, and the people were weary and very hungry. Jesus turned to his friend Philip and asked, "Where can we buy bread for all these people to eat?" Philip looked at the endless rows of families and sighed, knowing they had very little money. He couldn't imagine how they would feed such a giant group. Another friend, Andrew, stepped forward with a young boy named Joel. "Here is a boy with 5 small barley loaves and 2 small fish," Andrew said. "But how far will they go among so many?" Jesus smiled and took the small lunch. He looked up to heaven and gave thanks to God. Then, something incredible happened. As the food was passed out, the baskets stayed full. Everyone ate until they were completely satisfied, and there were even leftovers. That evening, the disciples rowed their boat across the sea, but a fierce storm blew in. The wind shrieked, and the waves tossed the wooden boat like a leaf in a puddle. Suddenly, through the spray and the dark, they saw a figure walking right on top of the crashing waves. The disciples were terrified, thinking it was a ghost, but a familiar voice called out, "Take courage! It is I. Don't be afraid." Peter called out from the boat, "Lord, if it's you, tell me to come to you on the water." Jesus replied with just one word, "Come." Peter climbed over the side and, to his wonder, he began walking on the water toward Jesus. But when Peter noticed the strength of the wind, he became afraid and started to sink. "Lord, save me," he cried. Immediately, Jesus reached out his strong hand and caught him, pulling him safely back up. The next day, the crowds found Jesus again. They were still thinking about the bread from the day before, but Jesus wanted to give them a gift that would last forever. He told them, "I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will never go hungry." Joel, the boy who had shared his lunch, sat near the front and listened. Jesus explained that while bread fills the stomach for a little while, his love fills the heart forever. Some people found it hard to believe Jesus' words and began to leave. Jesus turned to his 12 closest friends and asked, "Do you want to leave too?" Peter stepped forward and shook his head. "Lord, to whom shall we go?" Peter asked with a loyal heart, "You have the words of eternal life. We believe and know that you are the Holy One of God." While walking in the city of Jerusalem, Jesus met a man named Malchus, who had been blind since the day he was born. Jesus' friends asked why the man was blind, but Jesus explained it was so that God's power could be shown. Jesus spat on the ground, made a bit of soft mud with the dust, and gently rubbed it onto Malchus's eyes. Malchus sat very still, feeling the cool mud on his closed eyelids. Jesus told Malchus, "Go, wash in the pool of Siloam." Malchus felt his way through the busy streets until he reached the splashing water of the pool. His mother, Sarah, followed close behind, her heart racing with hope. Malchus reached down and scrubbed the mud from his face. When he opened his eyes, he let out a shout of joy. He could see the sunlight on the water and the smiling face of his mother for the very first time. Some of the leaders, like a man named Eleazar, were very upset because Jesus had healed Malchus on a day of rest. They called Malchus in and questioned him sternly, trying to find fault with Jesus. But Malchus stood his ground. He looked at Eleazar and said, "One thing I do know. I was blind, but now I see." He knew that Jesus had changed his life, and he wasn't afraid to say so. Later, Jesus found Malchus and asked him if he believed in the Son of Man. When Malchus realized the person speaking was the one who had healed him, he knelt down and said, "Lord, I believe." Jesus smiled, knowing that Malchus could now see with his heart as well as his eyes. Jesus is the light of the world, and his love is a light that helps everyone find their way to God.